In the deep silence of the room as the night begins to fall, everything around us seems to slow down, making way for the quiet spaces that are often filled with the hustle and bustle of the day. At this moment, there is only the dim, gentle light reflecting off the old mirror hanging on the familiar wall. In the midst of that stillness, the steady, persistent ticking of the pendulum clock echoes. That sound feels so vast, like the quiet but never weary steps of time stepping softly away. You walk closer, standing there unconsciously, then gently bring your slightly rough fingers to touch your face in the mirror. Under the soft yellow light, the lines of time suddenly appear clearer and more real than ever. Those are the deep wrinkles around the corners of your eyes, the long lines across your forehead, and the serene, quiet contours around your lips. At that exact moment of facing your own physical form through that glass, as you stand, still looking at the marks that time has intentionally carved, what emotion suddenly wells up in your heart? Could it be a vague trace of regret, a distant nostalgia for a glorious youth, a time full of life that has retreated so far into the past? Or is it a hidden fear, a creeping anxiety about aging, about the old face knocking on the door, closer day by day, along with the obvious frailty of the body? Or perhaps deep down inside, is it the heavy feeling of an invisible burden, a lingering worry that even until now you have not been able or willing to put down, even though those shoulders have been too tired after decades of carrying the weight back and forth? We, out of common habit, still often look at wrinkles as a hateful enemy. We consider them proof of fading beauty, a frightening reminder of an oncoming old age and our helplessness before nature. However, if you pause for a single beat, looking deeper, with the eyes of awareness and mindfulness, you will realize a completely different truth, a much more compassionate perspective. Those wrinkles are actually not signs of destruction or decay. No, they are sacred lines written in the diary of your flesh, recording in the most truthful and precious way the journey that you have courageously walked through so many storms of life. Each small wrinkle at the corner of your eye is actually a time you stayed awake all night, tossing and turning by the bed, out of worry for your children when they had a high fever or illness. Each deep line on your forehead is a difficult period when you had to exhaust your sweat and labor to take care of food, clothing and money for the family, keeping the roof warm and peaceful. And those quiet lines around your lips, aren't they the times you had to swallow your tears back inside, trying to restrain the pain to offer a strong smile, serving as a solid spiritual support for your loved ones? Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once left the world with an extremely profound and insightful perspective on the continuation of life. He always taught that in this world, nothing is ever truly lost completely, and nothing is born out of nothing. Look at a flower. When it fades and falls, it does not disappear into nothingness, but it goes into the earth, decomposing to become nutrients to feed new green shoots waiting up. A cloud drifting in the blue sky, when it no longer holds the shape of a cloud, does not die at all, but it has chosen to turn into gentle raindrops to cool the trees and plants. Your face at present, with all those deep wrinkles and marks of time, is the great, obvious continuation of your ancestors, your parents, and your own brilliant youth that you have fully dedicated. You are not growing old in the sense of fading or withering away. In reality, you are ripening. You are carrying on yourself the sacred crystallization of unconditional love, of silent sacrifice, and of a whole treasure of precious life experiences that no young person could ever possess. But have you ever wondered why, even though you have stepped into the age where you should be leisurely resting and enjoying your old age with your children and grandchildren, your heart has not been truly at peace for a single day? Why do those late life pressures, those over-responsible worries about the future of your children, the life of your grandchildren, about things that have not come or may never even happen, still continue to surround you, dancing in your head and draining your small source of life energy every day? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel completely worn out when you always have to brace yourself to play the role of a hero, a great provider, someone who always stands up to worry about the happiness and emotions of everyone around you, except for yourself. In today's video conversation, we will completely avoid talking about lofty religious doctrines or dry philosophies far removed from reality. We are here simply to sit down together like old bosom friends who haven't met in years, leisurely drinking a sip of tea, slowly talking from the heart, and together looking for the key of mindfulness. That key is distilled from the very simple, rustic, but deeply penetrating teachings of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. It will be a soothing medicine, helping you open the door to true letting go, transforming late-life pressures into peace and freedom in daily life. It will show you how to lighten the load of life, how to remove the heavy basket when your shoulders are already too tired. Let us step into this journey together in a very slow, gentle, and deep way to find again the peace that has always inherently existed in your very heart. Part 2. Deep empathy and context. In order to find a true healing medicine for the soul, there is one thing we absolutely must do. We must courageously look straight into the pain, seeing through the hidden corners in the daily life of old age. Have you ever suddenly realized that you are living a double life? On the outside, in front of your children, grandchildren, or neighbors, you always try to appear strong, happy, and peaceful so that no one has to worry, to prove that you are still doing fine. Yet, when the bedroom door closes, when you are left alone facing the dark night, inside your heart is a vast, empty space full of anxieties, reflections, and sheer exhaustion. Let us look slowly at the three very familiar real-life pictures below, situations where perhaps when you hear them, you will find the very shadow and story of your own life reflected in them. The first picture is the painful image of those who carry the family burden for life. Try to imagine a father, a mother who has spent 30 or 40 of the most beautiful years of their youth dedicating themselves to work, from factories and workshops to government offices. They worked day and night, saving every small penny of their salary. The day they received their retirement decision, holding the paper in hand, they thought that from now on they would be free, casting off all the pressures that had weighed them down for so long to live a life of their own, going wherever they liked, doing whatever they wanted. But the reality of life afterward was harsh and completely different. Although their physical bodies have officially left the workplace, although they no longer have to clock in every day, their minds have not for a single day, not for a single hour, truly received that retirement decision. Every day, out of an ingrained habit, they still wake up very early when the sky is still dim, but now they get up not to prepare clothes for work, but to start wandering in a chain of new anxieties, new invisible pressures. They sit absent-mindedly at the dining table, their hearts burning like fire, as they wonder if their eldest son's business has been going well lately, if he has enough money this month to manage the mortgage payment for his newly bought apartment. At night, when the crickets chirp rhythmically outside the yard, they toss and turn all night long, turning over continuously because the marriage of their youngest daughter is showing signs of cracking and arguing. They blame themselves, then wonder what they can do, what they can say to heal them. They secretly open the small cabinet, look at the savings book, look at the amount of accumulated wealth scraped together for a lifetime, and begin to have a headache calculating how to divide it equally among the children, how to make sure that when they lay down, no child suffers a disadvantage and then turns to envy each other. Inadvertently, they turn themselves into unpaid housekeepers, silent protectors who are always bracing themselves, fluffing up their quills to shield children who are actually 30 or 40 years old. Their shoulders are already sore, their backs bowed with time, but they absolutely dare not lower that basket of responsibility because in their consciousness they are always haunted by the terrifying fear that if they let go, if they do not take care of things, the lives of their children will instantly lapse. The second picture touches upon another pain, a pain that is not loud but smouldering and incredibly aching. The pressure of extreme loneliness in one's own familiar home. This is a sad reality for so many elderly people in modern society today. Let us think together about a late winter afternoon when the pale twilight begins to fall over the vast house, every corner carrying a hint of coldness. Your children are now grown, they have their own lives, their own busy work in big cities, or even when they are lucky enough to live under the same roof, the generation gap is still clearly present. After a hurried dinner, they retreat to their private rooms, busy with flashing phone screens, with social relationships spinning outside. The shared living space becomes sparse, lacking the innocent laughter of the children of yesterday. You sit alone holding your knees beside a tray of rice that has long grown cold, your ears pretending to listen to the television emitting strange commercial sounds, but your eyes are staring blankly into space. This loneliness in old age is not simply the absence of someone to sit and talk with, but what is more frightening, it is the feeling of helplessness when seeing that you seem to have been left behind, outside the turbulent flow of modern life. Late at night, when everything has fallen into deep sleep, the insomnia of old age wakes you up again. You open your eyes to look at the ceiling and must face 4 silent, cold walls. In that quiet darkness, your mind refuses to rest but begins to paint all sorts of over-responsible, far-fetched thoughts. You worry about the bleak future of your children, fearing that the world outside is changing too fast, technology is advancing day by day, and you are growing old, lagging behind, becoming useless. At those times, deep in your heart, how you long for a warm hug, a sincere, simple question from the children you gave birth to, like, "Mum, Dad, how have you been feeling lately? Did you enjoy this dish I cooked today?" Yet, the response to that long-awaited longing is usually only a terrifying silence or casual, hurried answers because the children are busy. That toxic loneliness accumulates, compressed day after day, turning into a giant boulder weighing heavily on your heart, making each breath in and out heavy and laborious. And then we come to the third picture, the picture that is perhaps the obsession, the greatest fear for anyone stepping into old age, the extreme anxiety about physical health. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are the eternal laws. No one, whether rich or poor, can use power or money to fight against nature. When passing over the other side of the slope of life, your body begins to alarm you with clear signals. Those are the mornings waking up with aching knee joints, stepping down from the bed, hearing a cracking sound. Those are the days when the weather changes, making your entire back sore and cramped. Or those are the chronic diseases like blood pressure or diabetes that force you to tie your life to handfuls of bitter pills every day. Every time the body shows a strange sign, a sharp chest pain or a passing bout of dizziness, your heart wells up with an extreme anxiety and fear. However, this fear does not exactly stem from the fact that you are afraid of death, because at this age, many people have seen through life. More terrifying than death itself is the horrific obsession called the fear of becoming a burden to your children. You are afraid that one day a stroke or bone disease will strike you down, forcing you to lie in one place, every personal activity from eating, bathing to taking medicine, having to rely on others. You are afraid you will drain the family's small savings, afraid you will consume the time, effort, and hinder the career path of your children, children who themselves are already struggling and scraping by to survive with their own lives in society. Precisely because of that selfless and pitiful fear, many elderly people choose to silently hide their illnesses. They grit their teeth and endure the agonizing pains alone in the middle of the night, trying to take a few painkillers and fever reducers, then during the day force a smile, appearing healthy and agile in front of their children and grandchildren. That silent endurance, suppressed over time, eventually creates an incredibly horrific psychological pressure, a prolonged nervous tension that seriously damages your mind, profoundly harming both body and soul without anyone knowing. We truly understand from the bottom of our hearts that these late-life pressures, these melancholy feelings are day by day draining your life energy, slowly sucking away the joy of old age like a thief in the night. These are completely not far-fetched, illusory worries of idle people, but these are harsh realities, difficult problems that you are having to face alone, hour by hour, day by day, in solitude. You feel weary letting go, feel helpless before the whirlpool of life. And sometimes deep in your heart there is even a hidden resentment, a self-pity, because why have you sacrificed your whole life, endured hardships for others, yet in the final years of your life you still cannot find peace? Let me sit down here, hold your thin hand and tell you that you are not alone in this journey full of tears. Those emotions, those pains of yours are completely justified and deserve to be cherished. But my friend, it is time for you to allow yourself to stop. It is time for your heart's voice to be heard and for those wounds to be healed in the most gentle way. Part 3. Burden, named over-responsibility, deep dive. In order to find a way to untangle the burden heavy on your shoulders, we cannot just stop at social comforting. We need to dissect and analyze together in an extremely deep, thorough and scientific way the true nature of this late-life pressure. Why is it that as people grow older, when social relationships have narrowed, they tend to take on all responsibilities, embrace all negative emotions, and trouble themselves with other people's problems to create what is called the burden of over-responsibility? Under the profound lens of behavioral psychology and spiritual energy, this is completely not a simple manifestation of a noble love, as you have always thought. In reality, it is a mistaken thinking habit, a toxic attachment that has taken deep root in your consciousness for half your life, and now it is turning back to make its own master suffer. Let us courageously look straight into the true nature of the problem that you have intentionally avoided for so long. There is an extremely thin boundary, thin as a hair, but incredibly important, between true love and the selfish desire to control. When you were young, you were the pillar of the family, you were the master, the one making big and small decisions, from guiding education and careers to the marriage of your children. That habit of being the master, being the authority, has lasted for decades. It runs deep in your blood and mind, giving rise to a harmful illusion that you are the predecessor, you have experience, and you always know what is best and most correct for your children. Even when your children are now grown up, their hair touching grey, having their own families, their own careers, and completely possessing full legal status and capacity to take responsibility for their own lives, you are still helpless, unable to let go of that old controlling habit. You begin to sit on thorns, your heart anxious when seeing your daughter-in-law cook a dish that doesn't suit your son's taste. You get irritated, taking the liberty to intervene deeply in the way your own child raises or scolds your grandchild. You lose sleep and appetite upon hearing that your son-in-law decided to resign from a stable company to pivot toward risky business ventures. At those times, you always justify your actions with reasons that sound very pitiful. It's just because I love them too much. Because I'm a parent, I'm afraid they will suffer, afraid they will trip in life, so I have to strain my heart and mind to worry like that. But do you ever calm down to realize a harsh truth that behind that worrying under the guise of love is actually an extremely weak faith, if not to say a disregard that you hold for your children's ability to mature? You are inadvertently using your excessive worry to strip away the right to make mistakes, the right to trip, the right to stand up by themselves, and the right to grow up of those children. When you intentionally brace yourself to carry the load, do the work, and think for them, you not only make yourself suffer pointlessly, but also inadvertently create an atmosphere of pressure, suffocation, and confinement for your own children. This is the core cause that makes the relationship between the two generations increasingly distant, cold, and profoundly fractured. The children feel that their parents do not respect their privacy, feeling like they are forever helpless 3-year-olds, while you carry a deep melancholy, a profound hurt, because you think that your care and kindness are regarded by the kids as meddling, trouble, and over-responsibility. If looking at this problem under the angle of energy science, the mind of each human being can be compared to a container of limited capacity. When you are still at a young or middle age, that container is brand new, its walls thick and resilient, the flow of life energy inside extremely abundant and surging. Thanks to that stability, you can contain and endure many pressures and impacts from life at the same time, from work and money pressures to family conflicts, without the container being harmed. However, when you step into old age, let us look realistically that your mind at this time is already like an old pottery jar that has gone through too many years of wind and storms. That jar has now developed tiny hairline cracks due to time, due to the hurts, losses, and hardships left behind in the past. That damaged pottery jar at this moment needs to be cradled in the most gentle way. It needs to rest. It needs to contain the cool, clear waters of leisure, inner stillness, and the joy of the spirit. Yet, look back at what you are doing daily with your precious, fragile pottery jar. Every morning, waking up instead of filtering out the mud to clear the water, you voluntarily go to gather, collect muddy, polluted waters from the outside world to try to desperately fill your jar. That is a complaint about work pressure from your son, a resentful frown from your daughter, negative, anxious news rampant on social media, and even sad, unhappy memories from the old days that you stubbornly refuse to erase. You embrace all, gather all negative emotions, all psychological waste of others into your heart, forcing yourself to have the responsibility to stand up, to solve, to bear responsibility for the happiness of their lives. When a pottery jar that was already weakened now has to bear an overloaded capacity, an immense pressure, what must come will come. Your mind jar will automatically crack and collapse from within before it can soothe or bring any practical benefit to the people around you. Complete mental collapse, terrifying depression in old age, forgetfulness, or chronic insomnia, tossing and turning every night, is the inevitable consequence, the desperate cry for help when your mind jar is being violated, being forced to death by your own habit of over-responsibility and picking up everything. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, in his mindfulness lectures, always tenderly reminds us of the importance of recognizing our own energy. The master has a simple but ultimate truth. We cannot give others what we do not have. Think about it. If inside your heart is always full of anxiety, insecurity, sadness, and fatigue, then even if you try to sacrifice to exhaust your strength to help and worry for your children, the only thing you truly transmit to them is also just the toxic energy of anxiety and insecurity. When you stand next to your children with a sad, withered face, a judgmental look, and a mind entangled like a ball of yarn, you are inadvertently making the family atmosphere heavier and more suffocating rather than helping. You think you are sacrificing grandly for your children, but in fact, you are dragging both yourself and them down into the mud of fatigue. Recognizing this error in thinking is completely not for you to fall into a state of self-blame or tormenting yourself further. Recognizing is to wake up so that you deeply understand that it is time for you to completely change the way you love. It is time for you to learn to retreat to the background in honor, retreating in mindfulness to preserve the life energy for your own self. Part 4. A small change, practicing the wrinkle breath micro-practice. After we have together courageously met and recognized the root of the over-responsibility illness, we absolutely cannot just stop at reasoning, explaining the theory, and leaving it there. Mindfulness and an aware lifestyle, according to the teachings of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, always possess high practicality. It must go hand in hand with simple, rustic practice that can be applied immediately into your daily life. Right now, I want to send you a sincere invitation from my heart. In this very moment, whether you are sitting back on your familiar sofa, lying leisurely in bed, or sitting by the tea table, enjoying the view, allow yourself to stop all work, all thoughts for 2 short minutes. Courageously disconnect. Allow yourself to temporarily let go of the noisy world outside to return home, reconnecting with the sanctuary of your own soul. Let us together perform a very small meditation practice, an incredibly miraculous method called the Wrinkle Breath. This is a practice distilled and taught from the silent retreats at Plum Village, which has saved the souls of millions of people around the world. First, adjust your sitting posture to keep your back naturally straight and most comfortable, Absolutely do not stiffen your muscles. Gently close your eyelids, letting your eyes rest after a tiring day of looking at the world. Now, direct your whole attention, your most pure focus, toward your forehead. Do you feel a tension, a slight contraction present there? According to the body's natural reflex, whenever we worry, whenever our mind is busy running backward to the past to regret or rushing to the future to fear, the muscles on the forehead will automatically contract, wrinkling up, creating deep creases of tension and pressure. Now begin to breathe in a very slow, deep and gentle breath through your nose. Feel clearly the fresh, cool air of the earth entering your body, expanding your chest and going down to fill your abdomen. As you breathe in like that, talk silently to yourself, using your mind to guide. Breathing in, I am aware of my forehead, and I know there are wrinkles of anxiety and fatigue present here. Just recognize it. Cradle your forehead with the utmost tenderness without releasing words of judgment or hatred toward it. Then slowly, leisurely, breathe out a very long, gentle, and smooth breath through your mouth or nose, making the exhalation longer than the inhalation. As you breathe out like that, whisper to your mind, breathing out, I smile at those wrinkles. I actively relax all the muscles on my face. Imagine your forehead at this moment like a flat lake surface in the early morning, without a single ripple, without a bit of tense wrinkle that can cling on. Let us repeat this breathing cycle together once more, but this time do it slower, deeper, and more anchored. Breathing in, I bring the pure energy of mindfulness to embrace and soothe my tired eyes and my lips that have endured much restraint. Breathing out, I declare the complete letting go of all burdens, all over-responsible tasks of the world. I allow my lips to form a gentle, free half-smile, like a lotus flower blooming along the stream bank. Can you feel it? The coolness, the lightness, and relaxation are slowly spreading, starting from the forehead, soaking through the eyes, running down the cheeks and covering your entire face. Science has proven that when the muscles on the face are actively relaxed completely, a signal of peace and safety will immediately be sent straight to the central nervous system, and instantly the flow of negative emotions. The inner storms in your mind will also automatically lighten up and dissipate. This is the core of the art of body awareness in Buddhist meditation. The physical body and the spiritual mind are not two independent entities. They are a unified whole and always reflect each other rhythmically. When your mind is uneasy and worried, your body will immediately manifest with stiffness and soreness. Conversely, when you actively use concentration to relax your body, your mind will automatically calm and quiet down in response. Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh always tenderly reminded us, turn this small practice into a habit, an indispensable ritual in your daily life. Every morning waking up, when you step into the bathroom and stand in front of the mirror to wash your face, please do not hurry, do not rush. Dedicate exactly 1 precious minute to look deep into your own eyes in the mirror, performing this wrinkle breath practice. Look at your wrinkles with love, smile warmly at them and say, "Hello, my loyal companions of a lifetime. Today I will take good care of you. I promise not to let you crease deeper because of the useless worries of this world anymore." You can also flexibly practice this meditation exercise at any moment of the day, when you are standing in the kitchen cooking, when you are sitting alone, waiting for your children and grandchildren to gather around the rice tray, or most especially at those quiet hours of midnight, when you suddenly wake up by a small sound and see your mind starting to lose control, wandering into paths of worry and fear for the future of your children. Right at the second you realize you are frowning, your forehead wrinkling in the dark, immediately return to anchor in your breath. Breathing in, the mind grows still. Breathing out, the mouth smiles. This small change, seemingly simple, if you patiently repeat it regularly, every day like eating food or drinking water, will create a miracle, a great transformation for your life. It will help you build an incredibly intelligent energy filter for your mind, helping you always stay awake to recognize what is your own business to do, What is other people's business to let them manage, thereby helping you live a life of leisure, freedom, and awareness amidst the thousands of fluctuations and storms of life? Part 5. Strategy and Real Story, The Old Man's Basket of Stones by the River. To help you understand more deeply and thoroughly the art of letting go and lightening life's load, I want to tell you a very profound ancient story. This is a story rich in simple human philosophy, a story that during his lifetime, Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh very often used in his lectures at great lecture halls around the world to awaken souls who were weary and exhausted in the vortex of over-responsible anxiety. Long ago, in a prosperous small village lying peacefully next to a river that was blue all year round, lived an elderly man named Ba. Mr. Ba was famous throughout the region as a man who had been industrious, hard-working, and kind-hearted all his life. From his youth until his hair was white as cotton, he never lived for himself. His life was a long chain of days living for others. He voluntarily shouldered all large and small matters in the clan, worried thoroughly for the life of his gentle wife, and raised his 3 children single-handedly into successful adults. When his children were all grown up, married, and moved out to live independently, Mr. Ba thought that from now on he had completed his life's duty and would leisurely enjoy blessings. However, the reality of life turned out completely opposite. His mind grew heavier day by day, his heart withering. He could no longer sleep soundly because his head was always besieged by dozens, hundreds of worries dancing relentlessly. He worried whether his eldest son working far away from home would be deceived by people, worried whether his second daughter lately, due to the economic recession, had enough money to raise his grandchild, and then worried that his youngest son's hot-headed temperament would ruin the company's grand affairs. One day, feeling his shoulders too tired, his chest tightening like a giant boulder weighing down, making each breath difficult, Mr. Ba decided to lean on his staff to climb the high mountain behind the village to find a famous enlightened Zen master, hoping to ask for advice to dissolve the pressures suffocating his life. After entering the meditation hut, Mr. Ba poured out his heart for hours. He narrated, complained with all sorts of tired, helpless words about his family situation and his worries. Listening through, the Zen master did not utter a word of explanation or blame. He only smiled peacefully, silently stood up to walk inside the small thatch house, and brought out an empty bamboo basket along with a small sack of coarse cloth. The Zen master handed that bamboo basket to Mr. Ba and gently said, "Now you and I will take a walk together along the quiet river under the foot of this mountain. The rule of the trip is extremely simple. From now until the end of the journey, whenever a worry arises in your mind, any reflecting thought about life, even the smallest matter, pick up a stone by the road and drop it into the basket on your back." Mr. Ba nodded in obedience, wore the empty bamboo basket on his shoulders, and began to step leisurely next to the Zen master. Initially, because the basket was completely empty, Mr. Ba felt his steps incredibly light and pleasant. But having walked only a few steps, the image of his eldest son, whose business was losing money lately, flashed in his mind. Mr. Ba immediately bowed down, picked up a stone as big as a fist, and dropped it into the basket. Walking a short distance further, the worry about his youngest daughter being late in marriage rose up again. He picked up another stone and dropped it in. Just like that, while walking, Mr. Ba's mind operated at full capacity without a single second of rest. He thought about the sciatica pain of his old wife at home. He picked up a stone. He thought about how tomorrow's erratic weather could cause frost, ruining the vegetable garden out on the riverbank. He picked up a stone. Even remembering a casual, slightly offensive word from a neighbor that upset him from last week, he also bowed down to pick up another rough stone to put on his back. After walking less than a mile along the deserted river, the bamboo basket on Mr. Ba's back was full, heavy with stones of all sizes and shapes. His shoulders began to ache as if they would break. His back bowed down nearly close to the ground. heavy drops of stinging sweat falling on his face, deeply lined with suffering. His steps became heavy, staggering, trembling, and finally, unable to endure any further, Mr. Ba collapsed onto the grass bank by the river, his chest heaving as he gasped for breath, helpless to take another step. He looked up at the Zen master with red-rimmed, pleading eyes and whispered, "Master, I surrender. I am truly exhausted. This basket is too heavy. It is crushing my body and bones." The Zen master only then stopped his steps. He deliberately sat down on the grass next to Mr. Ba, looking at him with eyes full of empathy, tolerance, and boundless compassion. He said calmly, his voice warm like a spring breeze, "Old Ba, lean over and look back at the basket on your back. Answer me, did these heavy stones automatically jump into your basket? Or did you yourself manually bow down, gather each one, and then voluntarily put them in there?" Hearing the question, Mr. Ba looked blankly at the Zen master, then lowered his head to stare intently at the full basket of stones. The Zen master continued to explain, his voice deep and gentle, like the wind blowing through ivory bamboo. "Your children, they have their own destiny, blessings and karmic retribution. The river of life out there has its own natural flow. Each human being, when born into this world, must walk on their own feet, must learn by themselves to bear responsibility for their own karma. You love your children, want good for them. That is kindness, a parental love to be cherished. However, you chose the wrong way by embracing the stones of the whole world, gathering all the worries and troubles of others into the basket to wear on your back day and night. You do so, no wonder your shoulders are not sore, wrinkles are not deeply carved, and your mind does not fall into a state of depletion. You think you are helping, protecting your children by doing this, but in reality, you are only destroying yourself pointlessly." The Zen master's words were like a powerful ray of wisdom light, abruptly cleaving the long-standing dark night of ignorance in Mr. Ba's mind. He suddenly woke up, cold sweat breaking out. It turned out that all this time, no one forced him to suffer. He was the executioner who created the prison to jail himself. He was the one who manually picked up the stones of anxiety and over-responsibility to weigh down his own life. Following the gentle guidance of the Zen master, Mr. Ba loosened the rope, lowering the stone basket off his bleeding shoulders. He used both trembling hands, lifted each stone one by one, and threw them forcefully back into the deep river. Each time a stone fell into the water, creating a splash sound, and round waves expanding away, Mr. Ba felt his chest lighten by a part, his breath becoming smoother. Until the last stone was thrown away, the bamboo basket became empty and light again. The Zen master smiled, took out from his robe pouch a small, unglazed clay teapot, and poured Mr. Ba a cup of tea, still swirling with steam. The two old men sat quietly on the green grass, quietly casting their eyes to look at the river, flowing sluggishly and peacefully under the sunset, painting a whole empty sky red. Mr. Ba lifted the teacup with both hands, took a small sip, feeling the initial slight bitterness on his tongue, then the elegant, sweet aftertaste expanding, soaking deep into his very heart. He let out a long breath, realizing that never in his whole industrious life had he enjoyed such a delicious cup of tea and felt life so peaceful and worth living. The story of Mr. Ba is the most truthful mirror reflecting the life of very many of us sitting before this screen. Are you inadvertently wearing a basket full of stones on your back every day? If the answer is yes, please learn to untie and pour that stone basket down into the river of impermanence, just like Mr. Ba, so that you can sit still stably and leisurely enjoy a delicious cup of tea in the twilight of your life. Part 6. Expanding the issues, making peace with the past and accepting impermanence. When we have thoroughly understood the burden of over-responsibility at the present time, we cannot stop there. To completely liberate the soul, we need to continue using the sword of mindfulness to dig deep and dissect two other negative, toxic sources of energy. These are two giant, rusty anchors holding the mind of old age tightly in the vortex of late-life pressures, preventing the heart of the elderly from ever having complete peace. Those two anchors are named regret and torment over the past, and fear and avoidance before the impermanent future. Let us speak together about the second aspect, the psychological pressure named regret over the past. In daily life, it is very easy for us to notice a very common psychological characteristic. The older people get, the more they tend to live by memory, living with their heads turned backward. When the physical activities of present life begin to decrease and work is no longer busy, the human mind suddenly has too many vast empty spaces, and ironically, our hearts use those empty spaces to reverse the wheel of time, digging up old memories. Very many elderly people and middle-aged friends fall into a state of chronic insomnia, tossing and turning from night to morning, not because of things happening today, but because their heads are tortured by questions starting with two bitter words. What if? They lie in the dark and ask themselves, what if back then I hadn't made that wrong, impulsive decision in work? Then the family wouldn't have declined. What if back then I knew how to be more patient, reducing my ego a bit with my spouse? Then the marriage wouldn't have broken midway to make the children suffer. What if during the years my parents were alive, I took a little time from running back and forth to take care of and filial piety them better? Then now I wouldn't have to carry an unfilial heart. Or what if I had been stricter, or knew how to be more tolerant in educating my children when they were small? Then now their lives wouldn't be precarious and rough like this. Those what-if questions are like sharp, rusty knives, self-scratching, carving into your soul every late night. You turn yourself into a strict court, continuously putting yourself on trial, tormenting yourself for mistakes and shortcomings that already lay deep under the dust of time. Under the mindfulness lens of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, living like that is a suicide in terms of energy. The master always reminded that the past in reality is only a movie that has finished filming, has been boxed up, and it completely no longer exists in this present moment. You're sitting there, holding your head in regret and torment over the past, is also just like wasting your strength to chase a phantom ghost. That action can in no way change a period or a comma of what has happened, but it has a horrific destructive power, draining away your joy and shattering your happiness in the present moment. The Master taught that we should learn to make peace with the past by returning, using gentle energy to embrace the deeply wounded child crying inside us. Understand and tolerate your past self. Understand that at that time, with limited understanding, under those narrow circumstances and pressures, you tried your best already. Send a most sincere apology and forgiveness to your past self. When you breathe in and recognize the past has passed, breathe out and smile letting it go. That is the moment you manually break the shackle and step out of the prison of lingering regret. Beside the ghost of the past, the vague fear of the future, which is most practical and nakedly the impermanence of sickness and death, is the third pressure weighing heavily on the heart of old age. The natural instinct of humans is to fear decay, to fear what they cannot control. Every day looking in the mirror, seeing your skin becoming more wrinkled and sagging, your hair turning white, your health declining, and your steps no longer steady, you immediately feel a surge of panic and anxiety. You fear that one day you will disappear completely from this world, fear the permanent separation from loved ones, fear death lurking somewhere. This instinctive fear, if not transformed by the stream of mindfulness, will turn into a psychological toxin, making you always live in a defensive, cooped-up state of anxiety, looking at life through pessimistic, grey eyes, and always thinking you are about to return to the earth. To dissolve this terrifying fear at its root, Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh brought to the world an extremely profound, esoteric, but highly optimistic philosophy of Buddhism, the philosophy of no birth and no death. The master told us not to look for answers in dry books, look straight at nature around us to learn the great lesson of impermanence. Try observing a stream of smoke rising from a burning pile of dry leaves in the yard. That smoke drifts high up, merges into the cloud layer in the sky, then disappears from our sight. But does that smoke truly die? Does it disappear into the void? The answer is no, it does not die at all. It has only changed its form, transforming into another type of energy, merging into the vast atmosphere, so that one day, when conditions are sufficient, it will turn into cool raindrops falling to the ground. The human body of ours also completely follows that miraculous law. This form, this flesh, is created from borrowing 4 elements of the universe: earth, water, wind, and fire. One day, when the borrowing period has expired, according to the inevitable law of impermanence, these elements will automatically disassemble to return to dust, returning to Mother Nature. That is absolutely not a tragic end, it is simply a transformation of form, a grand continuation. What you have lived, have loved with all your heart, the good moral values, the kind, gentle words, and the energy of peace that you have sown into this life for decades, all of them are not lost anywhere. They have soaked deep into the consciousness of your children, grandchildren, friends, and society. You are truly continuing living a new life in the very form, voice, and smile of your children and grandchildren. When you see your child smiling tolerantly before a difficulty, or see your grandchild taking courageous toddler steps, you must have the wisdom to recognize that that is the vivid continuation of none other than yourself. This tangible body can age, can decay over the years, but your true nature, your loving energy, is eternally without birth and without death. When you truly understand and touch this profound philosophical triest of Buddhism, your heart will naturally become extremely optimistic, serene, and courageous. You will no longer look at growing old as a terrifying decay to be avoided. On the contrary, you will look at it as the most beautiful ripening stage of a human life, a sacred, detached preparation to be ready to step into a new journey with a leisurely, free, and unburdened posture. Part 7. Buddhist Reflection, the True Meaning of Letting Go in Awareness. To close the deep psychological analysis and guide our souls to step up to a higher, more peaceful level of awareness, I want to invite you to join me in dedicating a space of silence to reflect thoroughly on a core, foundational concept in Buddhism. However, this is also the concept most misunderstood and wrongly perceived by people in daily life. Those are the 2 words, letting go. In reality, there is a very psychological phenomenon. Very many people, especially those at middle and old age, upon hearing someone advise the 2 words letting go, immediately develop a psychological resistance and discomfort. They think that letting go means giving up everything, becoming cold, unfeeling, and irresponsible to life, discarding duties, abandoning children and family to flee, seeking a selfish, lonely leisure for themselves. Especially for those who have lived their whole lives for family, bearing the sacred calling of being parents. The thought of letting go of their children sounds cruel, tasteless, and is a complete paradox, absolutely unacceptable. However, if we turn the problem over, looking at it through the mindfulness lens and aware thinking of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, you will see that letting go in Buddhism carries a completely different layer of meaning, a meaning extremely humane, warm, and overflowing with a type of love that carries great wisdom. Letting go is absolutely not giving up loving your children, not turning your back when they meet difficulties. Letting go here is letting go of attachment, letting go of the selfish ego that always wants to control, dictate, and possess the life of others according to its own will. Think about it. When you love someone, even your own biological child, with a feeling full of attachment and possession, you will always tend to force that person to live and behave according to the exact pattern, the exact expectation that you impose. You give yourself the right to demand your child to be happy in your way, and if they do otherwise, you immediately suffer and feel resentful. This type of attached love inadvertently creates an invisible but extremely strong shackle, making both the giver and receiver suffer, turning family affection into a suffocating prison. Letting go in awareness, according to the Master's teaching, means that you still love your children with all your heart and soul. You are still present in a complete, solid way whenever your child needs a spiritual anchor, yet you absolutely no longer attach or frantically exhaust your mind and soul over the result. You learn to respect individual freedom, respect differences in thinking, and accept the separate destiny, the separate karmic retribution of each child. You courageously accept a truth that your children are independent individuals. They have life lessons, unavoidable stumbles that they must experience by themselves to mature and have wisdom. When you do this, when you let go of the dictatorial, controlling desire of the ego, your love is truly liberated, becoming vast as the sea and sky. That love at this time will be completely clean of selfishness and opportunism, and precisely because of that, your heart will have enough space for tolerance, enough calmness to stand firm before the fierce storms, the ups and downs in the private life of your children without being swept away. This entire philosophy of letting go was explained by Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh in an extremely scientific and miraculous way through a pivotal concept, that is the concept of interbeing, which the world knows through the English term interbeing. Interbeing, understood in the most simple and pure way, means that nothing on the universe can exist in an isolated, solitary way. All entities must rely on each other, make into each other, be present in each other, and influence each other closely. You and your children also completely lie within that law of interbeing. The two generations are never two completely separate entities, like two stones placed next to each other. You are in your child, and your child is also present in you. This sacred connection does not just stop at the biological, bloodline, or DNA aspect, but it exists clearly at the subtle energy level. Please spend exactly 10 seconds to reflect carefully and deeply on this. When you sit completely alone in your private room, even if you do not open your mouth to say a word, do not send a single text message to your children, but if inside your heart at that time is full of waves of anxiety, resentment, dissatisfaction, and pressure, then according to the law of interbeing, that negative, toxic energy will still silently spread, covering the surrounding space, making the atmosphere in the house extremely suffocating and heavy, causing grandchildren and children entering to feel insecure. Conversely, if you are aware of that, know how to return to take care of yourself, know how to practice the wrinkle breath, know how to relax your face muscles to soothe late-life pressures, then your heart will naturally become cool, fresh, and peaceful like a small stream. And when you possess that true peace and detachment, your children, when coming home from work, stepping through the door, even if out in society they are having to endure much injustice, much heavy pressure, they will also immediately feel that field of peace and coolness radiating from their parents. They will see their souls naturally soothed, gently relaxing in a strange way just by seeing a leisurely face, a peaceful smile of their parents. Therefore, you're learning to sit still, learning to let go of over-responsible worries, abandoning the habit of intervening in other people's lives to focus on nourishing leisure and joy for yourself, is absolutely not a selfish, irresponsible act as people out there think. On the contrary, that is the most enlightened action, the most practical, scientific way to love and help your children, bringing optimal efficiency. An elderly person who knows how to smile at life, knows how to breathe mindfully in every moment, knows how to live an optimistic, detached, and peaceful lifestyle. Then that person themselves is already an old tree casting the largest shade, a type of invaluable spiritual asset left for children and grandchildren to lean on whenever the turbulent flow of life out there knocks them down. This is the true peak of practicing among daily life, a very practical practice that does not require you to go far, does not force you to shave your head to enter a monastery, but it is performed right within each breath, in and out, each warm smile present on the face, deeply lined with your wise wrinkles. Part 8. Conclusion and Call to Action, CTA. Our journey of heartfelt conversation and sharing of feelings today has come to the final moments of the video. I hope and believe that during the past few short tens of minutes, you have truly allowed your mind to rest, to calm down after days of storms, have learned how to breathe in a leisurely, gentle way, and have opened your heart to look back at your life with a completely different eye, the eye of understanding, tolerance, and complete awareness. Now close your eyes and try to imagine Right after this video closes, you stand up and walk to the familiar mirror in your room once more. But this time, please do not look in the mirror with an eye of regret for youth or fear of old age like in the beginning. Look at the wrinkles on your face with an eye overflowing with profound gratitude. Gently bring your thin hand up, softly stroke your face, stroke the creases of time, and offer a very warm smile. Those wrinkles are now no longer hateful symbols of decay and old age. They have been granted a new life by mindfulness, turning into beautiful lines of wisdom, of great tolerance, and a medal of honor for a life fully lived, filled with meaning and affection, with nothing to be ashamed of. You have excellently completed your role, have shouldered the whole world, the whole family on your shoulders through 2/3 of a stormy life already. Now, as the evening twilight of life is gently falling, you completely have the right and deserve to allow your mind to truly rest in leisure. Please always carve into your heart the golden teaching of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. The past is already gone. The future is not yet here. Only the present moment is real. The true happiness of a human life absolutely does not lie in how much you worry and provision for the future of your children and grandchildren, but it is measured by your ability to sit still solidly in the present and cherish, enjoy what you are having in this very hour. Therefore, right today, courageously untie the rope, lower the bamboo basket full of over-responsible worries, useless griefs down off your shoulders already weary. Walk out to the yard leisurely, stand quietly watching a small flower silently blooming under the sunlight. Listen to the peaceful birds chirping harmoniously behind the house garden, or simply, manually brew yourself a warm cup of tea. Lift the teacup with both hands, sip each sip of tea slowly, feel the warm wave spreading from the tip of your tongue deep into your chest. Quietly, watch the thin stream of tea smoke rising into space and smile detachedly with this fresh, miraculous present. That is the true, peaceful, leisurely life that you completely deserve to receive after a lifetime of running back and forth, straining your heart and mind for others. If the shared words, the real-life stories in today's video, have luckily touched the deep chord of sympathy in your heart, bringing to your soul a little lightness, a cool breeze, and peace, then please do not selfishly keep it for yourself. Share the link of this video with your bosom friends, your older brothers, older sisters, people of the same generation out there, pitiful human beings who are also day and night, tiredly carrying late life pressures, over-responsible worries just like you used to. Join me in sending out the energy of understanding, spreading this aware lifestyle so that we together soothe the pains, the lonely hidden corners of old age in modern society. More than anyone, I extremely long for and treasure listening to your heart's voice, hearing sincere words from you. Spend 1 minute to leave a comment below this video, sharing with me and everyone about one thing, one specific worry or an over-responsible burden that you decide to courageously let go of, throwing it down into the river right today to return freedom and detachment to your mind. You know, each comment of yours, each determination to let go of yours will not be alone. They will resonate together to create an extremely powerful, immense stream of mindfulness energy, possessing the power to warm, awaken, and heal thousands, tens of thousands of other tired souls who are following this YouTube channel. From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for spending the invaluable asset of old age time to sit here with me, to listen to heartfelt words, and to breathe deep mindfulness breaths together. Your presence in this life, with a wholesome soul, always knowing to turn toward mindfulness and awareness, is already a beautiful flower, an extremely good thing contributing to this world. Wishing you always hold firm the peaceful half-smile on your lips, wishing your heart always cool, serene before all fluctuations, and to have a truly free, detached, peaceful, twilight life in each breath, in and out. Goodbye for now, and see you again in our next journeys of awareness and stories of healing.